What were you going to say?
Oh, just, sorry. I blanked out there for a second. Wow. Took a little vacation in my brain.
This is the Apparently Autistic podcast,
where we unmask the spectrum
with real voices
and real experiences.
We're your hosts, Keith Holloway.
And Bridget Holloway.
And I am Apparently Autistic. Before we get started, just a quick reminder. We're not experts in anything except our own personal experiences and perspectives.
Be sure to check out the important disclaimers and disclosures in the show notes.
Now let's dive in. Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Apparently Autistic podcast. I'm your host, Keith.
And I'm Bridget.
Co-host, executive host, I don't know. Where do you look?
Co-host is good. I'm not big on titles.
Yeah. So we're at episode 11. So that's, yep. Getting into the big time now.
I guess. We passed the double-digit mark, so it's good to be here with you all, and hopefully you're taking some tidbits from our episodes and able to relate to them or apply them to your life or whatever the case may be.
We get some good feedback, I think. So.
Yeah, I think so.
Any more feedback, keep it coming if you want. Yep.
We just wanted to touch on a couple things to get started this morning, and then we'll dive right into this week's episode. First thing is our merch store. Check it out. I'm going to be putting up some new things on the merch store aimed at, I was thinking about this week, some merch specifically aimed at neuroanchors. Okay. Anyways, but yeah, I'm going to be adding some stuff to the merch store specifically aimed at support people and neuroanchors. So watch for that. That'll be fun. And
yeah, that'll be cool.
Yeah.
We're also both wearing stuff from our merch store. I made this says Apparently Autistic Fire Department.
Okay, so for those of you who are listening and not watching, Keith is wearing a navy blue t-shirt. Just standard t-shirt, common. The front of it has the red, what's it called? The firefighter?
Maltese Cross.
Maltese Cross, okay. And what does it say on it?
It says Apparently Autistic, and then it's got like a little outline of a fire helmet. And then it says Fire Department. And then it says, trained for the chaos, wired for the details.
Yes. And on the back, in bold letters, they're red, aren't they?
Yeah, bold red letters, it says, keep back 500 feet.
Keep back 500
like
feet.
Like you see on the back of a fire truck.
Yes. And then I'm wearing a navy blue hoodie, and on the front it says, plot twist, it was autism all along. And the back of my shirt also says, stay back 500 feet.
I don't think I made that and ordered one for you, and then you were like, that doesn't make any sense on the sweatshirt. So
yeah, we changed it up.
We changed that design. It's also got our logo on the elbow. I don't even know if you noticed that.
I didn't notice that. That's cool. On the left elbow is the Apparently Autistic with Keith shrugging, the logo that you see on our Facebook page. So that's cool.
Yeah.
Good.
And her design, we also have that same design available on some t-shirts and stuff too. So
yeah.
And I kind of like that one. So yeah, I think it's been on. I think we have a mug and other things with it. That's kind of a fun one. Yeah. Some of the other designs, I keep thinking about them, and I'm like, I want to kind of go another route with some of them. I don't know. But
yeah, we'll start playing with that a little bit more. We've had a lot of things going on in our life, which, as you listen to today's episode, you'll kind of get an idea. But we've had one. I've been working a lot, and we've had family in town for the last week, and then we have more family visiting next weekend. So just the summertime busy things, but things that throw like a wrench in our regular routines. So we're in a little bit of recovery mode right now, and that's what we're going to talk about today.
We had a lot, like besides that. So I don't know if you were planning on going into like all the details of what has us just frazzled.
I think we'll kind of talk about it today as we go through the episode. But
okay, yeah. One other thing we did want to mention. This is should be the last episode that comes out
in the month
for Pride Month.
Yep.
And if you've seen our Facebook page, you can see that we 100% are allies. Yep. We support anyone in the LGBTQ plus community. We have friends and family members that are in the LGBTQ plus community. So that is one thing if you want to call it political, so be it. But that's one thing we are going to support unapologetically. Right. And if that offends you, sorry, but that's who we are.
Yeah. We're not the people who say, oh, I know somebody that's LGBTQ, so I support it. We actually have been to like Pride events and like we outwardly support. Yeah. So we are definitely here for that. And love is love. That's just like our goal for everybody is for people to be happy. That's all we care about.
Yep.
What you do in your private life is
love is love, and really that's like, I wish everyone could just have more of that love.
Yep.
And less of the division and hate and vitriol that we see sometimes.
We want people to find happiness and love and mutual respect. That's really all we care about. So anyways, just shout out to that. We kind of
so happy Pride to everybody out there. And
we support you.
Just wanted to give a nod during Pride Month. So
definitely.
All right. So Bridget has pretty much was the one that kind of developed this episode. And
so throughout the course of this week, I have seen, and we kind of decided to do this episode based on this. I've just kind of seen some of the struggles going on and experienced some of them myself, but not on the same level. Just like overwhelm and overload after like long periods of masking or just long periods of break in routine is a big one of them. So I saw the need to talk about it on our episode this week, and I laid out an episode, and it's going to be about long trips or having visitors. So the autistic experience and recovery from that. So whether it's visitors in your home or you're visiting somebody else's space or just long vacations, like say you go overseas, just the effects that those long periods of break in routine and
it can
quo has.
Especially help explain to neurotypicals why, we might go on a vacation, and that's the vacation is the recovery and the break for neurotypical people. And it can still be fun for autistics as well. But that change in routine and that, all of these things that we're going to be talking about, that's what makes it so that we actually do need to recover from a vacation too, Yeah.
So I've definitely watched you over this last week, and it's been wonderful having family visit, and it's been fulfilling on so many other levels. But there's also the other side of it that just completely exhausts you and wears you out and throws you out of balance in other ways. So while it can be a very positive thing, it can also be difficult in other ways. And
it doesn't mean we don't love our boys who we're visiting. It's not like we were tired of them. It's just the change in routine and throws off and for me especially.
It definitely
there were a couple times I had to kind of step out of my comfort zone just to do some things together, and
and I say that you did well with it. And just yesterday we went to, here in our Metroplex, there is the Grapevine Mills Mall. And I don't know if anybody's familiar, but this mall is huge. And a lot of malls in the U.S. have kind of gone by the wayside. They're not popular or busy anymore. And a lot of them have even just gone out of business. They're not, they don't stay busy enough. But this mall, on the weekends especially, the parking lot's always full. It is, footprint-wise, it's one level, but it is huge. If you walk the full circle of the mall, it's 1 mile completely around. So it's just an experience. And having our kids visit from out of town, having never, most of the malls where they're from are what we were talking about. They're just kind of dead. So they wanted to go to the mall, and we walked full circle and visited stores, and it was a Sunday afternoon. It was pretty busy. So you handled that well. And I know when I said that to you yesterday, you're like, it's a lot of masking, and I understand how exhausting that is for you, but also, you handled it really well as far as like understanding that that's what we were doing for family time, and you wanted them to experience it. So you were willing to make some of those sacrifices. And if you had said to me, I need to be done, we would have been done. So
I definitely probably, I was willing to push myself further than if we had just decided on an afternoon to go to the mall. We've been there many times.
Right.
We probably wouldn't have decided to do that on a Sunday at all anyways.
No.
But
it's an occasion thing, and it's not something that we expect or do all the time.
And it's a neat mall. It's kind of like outlet stores.
Yeah.
And they have stores that are very specific to brand stores. Like there's a Levi's store, and there's a Wrangler store, and all kinds of different.
I discovered a Hey Dude store, and that actually is something that we can talk about here because you tried them on. I've been curious about these shoes forever because I first looked at them and I was like, I'm not sure that I'm a fan of that style,
Mhm.
but as far as women go, there's a lot of cute prints, and they kind of started growing on me looks-wise, so I wanted to try one on. They are lightweight, they are comfortable, and it might be something sensory-wise that other people might be interested in, so
Yep.
I don't know. I would
I
encourage
looked
people
at
to try it.
flip-flops that they had, but
They didn't have them in your size.
the specific design that I looked at that I was like, this will probably won't be a sensory problem. Yeah, they didn't have my size in that one. So,
but no, just a lot of, like you said, brand specific stores. They have souvenir stores. They have activities that you can do, escape rooms, bowling alley. They have
they have like a whole big arcade that has the bowling alley there.
They have like I don't even know what it is, to be honest with you. It's like a gym type activities. I don't know. It's called the Field House.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking things like pickleball
basketball
and
courts
basketball
and,
courts and stuff like that. They just have a little bit of everything in there.
They have a Lego store and a Lego experience.
An
they
aquarium.
have the Sea Life Aquarium, or I think that's what it's called.
Yeah.
They have a Crayola experience.
Yeah, they have Meow Wolf.
Wait, what's that? Did we see the Crayola experience? Maybe I'm thinking of somewhere else. That's Mall of America. Maybe they don't have a Crayola experience there.
No, I don't think
they
so.
had a
actually.
Peppa Pig experience.
Yeah.
Which was relatively new.
A lot of different things that
they have a rainforest cafe there, which is really neat.
Yep.
A lot of neat stuff there.
Yeah.
For sure.
So anyways, that was just one of the things that we did that definitely is sensory overloaded and wore you out. I could tell it wore you out, but it was
it's kind of funny when we first got there, like we had just barely got there and everyone else was going to look in some stores. And I was like looking around for somewhere to just sit down, and I saw massage chairs and I was like, I'm going to go sit in one of those. And Bridget came along and started it up, like paid for it and started it up, and I just sat there in a massage chair for 15 minutes. That probably
contributed to
me being able to do it. Yeah,
maybe
the rest of it.
Maybe. Yeah. So, I mean, just definitely part of our week, and the reason that we thought it would be important to talk about what both from the neurodivergent perspective and the neurotypical perspective, these trips or having visitors in your space, the effects that it can have and what it looks like afterwards. So anyways, do we want to kind of recap who was visiting us in a general sense?
Yeah. We can kind of go from the top, I guess. So last weekend.
Not this one that just
Not
passed.
this one that just passed, but the weekend before, our son
Father's Day weekend.
Yeah, Father's Day weekend. Our son, who has been away at flight school, came home to visit, and he and I kind of surprised Bridget with that one.
Yeah.
He flew in on a really late flight, and Bridget was going to have to get up early to go to work. Originally, he was going to get in time to just Uber home and be home when Bridget woke up, but his flight got delayed.
Yeah.
So it turned into
a tidbit more. He's been gone for 2 months. So him leaving the nest, so to speak, is relatively new to us. It's like different for all of us and for him.
Yeah.
So we didn't think we were going to see him for a year because he is part of his schooling is that he's available 7 days a week. So he didn't think he was going to get a break.
Yeah. I was honestly kind of worried that he was able to get so much of a break, but he's doing good in it. But anyways, so it ended up being that I had to call Bridget 30 minutes before her alarm was set. I was at work.
It's usually not a good thing to wake me up before my alarm goes off.
No, usually not. But I knew she'd be okay with this.
I'm not grumpy, but it can ruin
I called her
my day.
And I just said, hey, I need you to get up early and leave for work early because there's something at the airport I need you to go pick up.
Guys, this is the neurotypical wife responding. My first thought when you said that was, Keith wears these hats. He has this very specific type of hat that he likes to wear, and he always wears a hat. He has, as long as I've known him. And he found these hats in the terminal at the airport. It's the employee store. And the one you have is pretty worn. And you said to me not long ago, probably 3 or 4 weeks ago, I really need to find a time to go to the airport and get a new hat. So when he said, I need you to go to the airport and pick something up, I really thought he was calling me to get up at 12:30 a.m. to go to before work to go to the airport to pick up a hat for him. I don't know. I was half asleep, so forgive me. But anyways, that's where my...
It's funny because I was expecting you to be like, what? Like catching on right away. And you were like, what? What do you need me to pick up? And I'm like, oh, she's still really tired, like still half asleep. And I was like, your son, because he's going to land here soon. And that's when the lights came on in her brain for sure.
Yes.
And I heard her throw herself out of bed to get up to get ready because she was excited.
I said, oh, I'm going.
So he came in to visit. He was going to pretty much just stay a few days, but the weather out where he's doing his flight training has been terrible last week.
The winds haven't been cooperating, and right now he's flying the smaller Cessnas, and if you know anything about flying the high winds with those, they don't get along. So with these student pilots, if the winds are above a certain, with anybody, if the winds are above a certain level, but I think they're even more restrictive with the student pilots, they just can't fly. So they do class work, and he was at the point where he was out of class work before
he was waiting for his stage check. Yep.
Yeah.
And it's just like, it was the weather, it was the winds, it would also, there were some TFRs whenever there's an important person in town, like the president or something, sometimes they'll put temporary flight restriction zones around there.
Yeah.
And if they had one of those, then an instructor had to actually fly the plane until it was out of the TFR. So it just basically made it so that they couldn't do his stage check.
Yeah, they couldn't get the practice they needed. And for those of you not in aviation, TFRs exist for things like large sporting events, areas that the president visits, or other important people. They exist for like military bases, things like that. That they just
wildfires when they're doing aircraft firefighting.
So they just can't fly over those areas, and sometimes it's up to a certain level, flight level, so they can go, if they're above like 20,000 feet, they can, or something like that. It just really depends on the specific restriction.
Yeah,
but they're quite common in aviation. It happens, and
in his case, they could fly in the TFR. It just had to be an actual filed flight plan, and it had to be flown by an actual like certified pilot, not a student pilot.
Yeah.
So that's what made it
kind of defeats
difficult.
Their purpose.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyways, so that resulted in him hanging out pretty much all week, and our oldest son and his fiance were coming in on Thursday. Was it?
Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So they came in.
And they've
while
been
our other
planning
son
this
was
trip
still
for months.
Yeah. So while our other son was still here, they came in, and so we had a
full house
again.
Yeah.
And that was just kind of crazy.
Yeah. It was nice though to have, like we had the room for him, and they hung out, and we were able to have a good time. You had already arranged time off work for when our oldest son and his fiance visited. So we just had some good family time.
And that might sound like, oh, that helps things, but sometimes my work is part of my routine that helps.
Yeah.
And I did some trades off so that I was off for 5 days in a row. And that alone can mess with my routine.
Yeah.
So
especially when things aren't what they usually are at home. Sometimes leaving and going to work and having at least a little bit of routine for a few hours can kind of ground you a little bit, and you didn't have that during that time.
Yeah.
So
it's not like I got to miss out on any kind of crazy weather days that would have made work crazy either. It was like this whole week the weather's been decent.
I got mandated to work on Sunday while they were here, unfortunately, but it was early morning shift, so I didn't miss out on too much because everybody was still asleep. But it was a beautiful weather day. It was one of the best weather days I've had at work in a while. So yeah, you definitely missed out on that.
Yeah, when you do our job, bad weather anywhere in the country is bad for you. Like it could be beautiful outside here, but we still might have a crazy day if there's a storm system moving across, or
could be anywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. So anyways, so one of the things that we kind of have touched on a little bit is when these events happen, when you're traveling, when people are visiting, invisible demands of change, like social interaction, sensory overload, the visiting new places, or taking people from out of town to see things that seem normal to you because you live in the area, but you get to go out and you have to experience crowds and these things that can cause some sensory overload. Also, it disrupts your routine, the going to work, like we talked about, the time of day that you get up and shower and eat your meals, and
Yep.
just all of those things get interrupted. And no matter how much you try to protect and preserve, there's going to be an interruption.
Right.
So along with that comes the cognitive load of masking
Mhm.
during those extended social interactions, like we talked about at the mall.
Yeah, especially the mall. Like for this trip, this was kind of our first time spending very much time with our son's fiance. And so it
Yeah.
was kind of getting to know her and her getting to know us. And so like I wasn't trying to mask at home. I wasn't masking really hardly at all at home.
Yeah.
I was just being myself and just kind of like, you want to get to know me. This is who I am.
Yep.
And especially when the boys are here, there's always, we're joking around with each other and sarcasm and jabs left and right and,
Yeah.
that kind of fun environment. So I still was able to be myself at home, which was helpful, more helpful than like if we had a visitor where we felt like we still had to mask at home, but still,
Definitely.
it still changes the dynamic of being at home. It's still,
Yeah.
like home is your safe space, but then when there's extra people there, even if they're family, it still changes that dynamic.
That's what I was going to say. Your safe space right now has evolved into one teenaged kid who kind of stays to himself.
Yeah.
He does interact with the some, but we're kind of almost at the point of like empty nesters. Our home life is pretty chill and boring.
Yeah.
And when you add 3 extra people to that, and you get siblings back together that haven't been together for a while,
Yeah.
you get different dynamics. And we've had this conversation since they left, but our 2 older boys that we're visiting this weekend couldn't be more different from each
Yeah.
other. And the middle one is the one that had lived with us until 2 months ago. And he is completely sarcastic, off the wall, easygoing, chill, and just like, I don't even know how to describe, but he's just like a completely different personality. And the older one is more, he's also neurodivergent,
Mhm.
and he has some struggles socially, but he takes things more personally. He doesn't understand sarcasm as well.
Mhm.
And the language of us interacting with the middle son, because he's lived here more recently, was just completely
Yeah.
different with the older one back in the picture. We just have to gauge it
Yeah.
different. And so even playing some of that dynamic, even though we're at home and you weren't trying to mask, even just refiguring out some of that dynamic was,
Yeah. That's
it
still
took effort.
mhm.
So
We
even
were
from my
even
perspective.
we were even considering doing an episode of interviewing our son who's neurodivergent
Yeah.
about, growing up neurodivergent, growing up with a dad who was undiagnosed, and,
Yeah.
and then the transition into adulthood. And we might still do that, have him as like a virtual guest or something.
Yeah.
In the future, I really want to do that, but we just when it got down time to when we could have done that while they were here, I was like, I'm just
You were
completely
spent.
wiped out. I just, yeah.
Completely. Yep. So, and also one of the things is shared spaces, loss of downtime. It's harder to take downtime when there's more people in your space, because maybe the space that you go to unwind a little bit, like say, like this area where we film is like a sitting room, and you have your bookshelf in here. So
Mhm.
sometimes you could come in here and sit to read in like a quiet space. And when you have extra people in the house,
Yeah.
that not as existent anymore. So,
Or like my recliner is kind of like Sheldon's spot on,
yeah, for sure.
on, the Big Bang
Mhm.
Theory. If you're not familiar with that, Sheldon's the kind of the quirky character that they don't come out and say he's autistic, but all of us autistic people are like, yeah, he's clearly autistic.
Right.
And he's got his favorite spot on the couch. And that's kind of how my recliner is. And so
Mhm.
like, I know it's kind of ridiculous, but if I walk into the room and someone else is sitting in my recliner, even though I know that they'll be like, oh yeah, it's here, you can have your chair. I'm like, get to my chair.
Yep. That's your space.
Yeah.
So, yep. So, like loss of downtime, your routine and quiet time and privacy, those dynamics all change.
Yeah.
And to what degree might be different for everybody. But all right. So we're going to go from what our week looked like and what some of those things look like when you're experiencing them or others are
Mhm.
experiencing them, to recovery. So it's not just being tired.
Yeah.
We're talking about something on a different level.
Yeah.
We're talking about a complete like changing routine, needing to find grounding, needing to like figure out, okay, how do I get back to homeostasis, if you will, so that I can get back into my routine? Because it's almost like this, you have to take a step backwards and balance yourself back out before you can get back into things, which is kind of what today's been all about. It's been kind of a quiet, chill day, and we haven't done much out of, I mean, we've gotten some things done that we needed to do, but they were all like routine things, things that are common to us. And I think part of that is good to help bring you back to grounding. But
well, to bring the spoon theory into it, it's like this weekend or the week starting from the weekend before to this last weekend, like we've been spending spoons for, from the next day. Like we keep borrowing from the next day.
Yeah.
And eventually that's got to catch up. And so, days like today where we just are like, okay, we're going to do as little as possible because we're starting out with very little spoons.
Yeah.
And we can't keep borrowing from the next day. So, you need a day or two that you can, keep your spoon budget low enough that you can catch back up on it,
Yeah. Well, and I think it's kind of a counterintuitive, but part of me also, at least from my MS perspective, and I can't speak from your perspective, you can tell me if it's the same for you, but today, doing those things that we've been kind of like neglecting for the last week while we've had visitors almost take less spoons than they normally would, because it almost feels good to just get back into those
kind of
routines.
Getting back into the normal.
And it's kind of a backwards from what it normally is, but it almost is like, okay, I needed that. Like that's helpful. Even though it still costs me the effort to do it, mentally it kind of grounds you a little bit. So just something to consider. And sometimes you just don't have the energy to do it still, so you can't push over that edge. But there's also some benefit to it if you can. There's also the risk of autistic burnout and shutdowns after prolonged exposure to stress. And it kind of depends on elements of what these long vacations or visits look like, because family dynamics are different too. So they can definitely be more stressful, and I could see those easily leading to burnouts or shutdowns. I mean, even in our situation, if we don't take the time afterwards to help you recover and help you get back to that, you're going to be more likely to reach that point.
Yeah. Well, like the whole weekend, even when we're having fun, I'm still sitting there with like my bucket full. And there were times when, I'd have kind of maybe little mini meltdowns. Especially when you get three brothers together who bicker a lot, even though some of them are older. And, they'd get to some of their bickering and I'd just be like, I don't like it. So I'd kind of like melt down a little bit and raise my voice, and everyone was kind of like, okay.
Yeah. Well, it's not just you, because we had that same conversation walking into Walmart one morning when you were still asleep. So, but just those momentary, okay, this could be like a teetering point. And thankfully our family knows the situation. So the boys will back off when
we're understanding and the label. That's where all of that helps, understanding what we're dealing with. And
Yep, exactly. So signs of needing to recovery, things you can watch out for if you're the support person or even the autistic person, you can maybe recognize these in yourself. Irritability, exhaustion, executive dysfunction, just not being able to do those everyday things that you need to do. Kind of touched on that earlier. Emotional dysregulation. Just earlier you said something to me and I kind of stopped you and I was like, that's not how we would normally respond to me in a situation. And it was coming from a place of, I know you're tired and you're worn out.
I was being more irritable than normal.
Yeah. And I recognize that for what it is, but we still talked about it. And
to add more depth to the understanding, especially when it comes to the emotional side, all of that going on. On top of that, we learned that we're going to become grandparents in October. And that is obviously a really, really awesome thing. I've looked forward to being a grandpa. I want to have grandkids and spoil them, but it's kind of bittersweet because it's, the child that's having the baby is my son, who right now doesn't want to have anything to do with us.
Right.
And so it's bittersweet because it's like, will we be able to see our granddaughter, and it's not like us wanting to pressure anybody. I fully understand my kids don't owe me anything. They don't owe me a relationship. I'd like to have a relationship. I'd like to at least have an opportunity to talk to them about why and, whatever. And I certainly would like to have a relationship with my grandkids. So that already is like an emotional roller coaster because it's like I'm thrilled and very happy for them and really excited to be a grandpa, but worried that I may not be able to
actually experience it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's definitely another level of the emotional side of things that we're dealing with. And for those of you who aren't watching, our little Mala is, I'm not sure if she's comforting herself or comforting Daddy right now, but she is all kinds of love bug.
I think she was almost falling asleep there for a second.
Yeah.
She's got her little bear, which is quite frankly is disgusting now.
She has torn it to pieces. There is no stuffing
left.
I think
Slobbery and
yeah. She plays with it.
Yeah, she's falling asleep.
Yeah, she's funny, but she's laying on Dad but yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah,
that adds to the emotional dysregulation.
Yeah, for sure. It definitely heightens it, and I mean that alone would be something that we'd be dealing with right now. Yeah. But yeah, other things on top of it, and it's just part of the puzzle, and these things might look different for different people, like even in the neurodivergent world, that there's internalizers and externalizers, and some people they want to share their feelings and their experiences and have everybody around them understand that, and some people just tuck it all inside tight and keep it in. So you have to even watch for the signs more when somebody keeps all that in.
It comes down to usually the person's experience and whether they have felt safe, expressing their feelings in the past.
Well, and that's what I was going to say, because I would have put you as an internalizer when we first got together, but over the years and work in therapy and stuff like that, realizing that talking about it and in a trusted space is helpful.
Yeah.
You've definitely become better about telling me.
Yeah. It still depends who we're around, but when it comes to you, I can do that. But even this weekend, there were times where I would just clam up, just be like, okay, I'm not talking.
Yeah.
It's just getting a little overwhelmed.
Right. So yeah, definitely. But you just have to be aware of your, the needs of your person and watch for those signs. And sometimes you have to be sorry, the computer just made a noise in my ear and I don't think the audience hears it, but that's what the pause was for.
I'll cut all that out.
Okay, fantastic. But no, you can be aware of your audience and watch for those signs. And sometimes you have to say, hey, I think you need a timeout, or hey, why don't you do this activity that you enjoy, that helps you kind of ground yourself, or cut out time for them to do that to make them not feel guilty about it.
Yeah.
Just kind of help them, steer them towards that, because they may not be willing to ask for it at that point.
Well, and one thing that I did this weekend, because I still kept my sleep schedule the way I do when I work. So even though most of us, stayed up late anyways, having fun playing games, we had one night where we were looking at videos and pictures from when the kids were younger. They still all went to bed before I would. And the last few nights, once everyone's in bed, I'd get on the Xbox and play Minecraft.
Yeah.
And when I say play Minecraft, I basically go into the creative mode, and it's just like digital Legos for me. I just start building stuff. And it's not even anything. It's kind of very low-key, repetitive.
Yeah. There's no townspeople or animals that you have to feed or anything like that, because isn't that part of Minecraft?
Yeah, that's part of the survival
mode?
Setting mode. Yeah, survival mode. I don't ever play in survival mode.
Yeah, no. You just build things. It's building blocks for you.
Pretty much.
Which is totally cool too. You built some cool stuff on there. Yeah. But it
was just a really good way to kind of veg and stem. It was just a good stem.
Yeah, definitely. Not I wouldn't say not something you have to think about, because some of the stuff you've built is pretty detailed and you count bricks.
Well, what I was doing the last few nights is not that detailed. No.
But
so
even so, there's been times where you counted out individual bricks to make sure you have proportions right. anyways, either way, it's a good exercise for you. It seems to be helpful for you mentally to just kind of check out and do that. So that's good. What would you say about recognizing your own warning signs to other people who are autistic? What kind of things do you watch for in yourself?
Like the biggest thing is just starting to feel when you're getting overwhelmed, recognizing that. And we usually can once we put a name to what's going on and we better understand what's going on behind that. So it's good to first understand that that's what's happening and know what you need to do in response to that. So like there were times when we were in the mall that I would just tell you, I'm going to go find somewhere to sit. Because I just need to find somewhere to sit. And
you guys can go in that store over there. Yep. I'm just going to hang out in this chair for a minute.
And like we've talked about in previous episodes, like little things, like if for some reason we're going grocery shopping and I'm starting to feel overwhelmed, I'll just be like, I'm going to go wait in the truck.
I love that. If for some reason we're going grocery shopping.
I know, right?
Because that's not the norm for us.
We do the delivery now because it's so much easier to deal with than go grocery shopping. So, but yeah, I think it's important if you struggle to recognize those signs, then I would encourage you to try to actually journal what's happening with you. If you have a meltdown, try to remember what led to it, and you can start to see the patterns yourself and pick those out easier. So that you can feel them coming on. And sometimes you might be going into a situation that you just know is going to be overwhelming. And so if that's the case, you can try to do things like, if you have noise canceling headphones and you're going to the mall, like that's a good place to wear noise canceling headphones.
Yeah.
If you need like a little stim toy, a little fidget toy that you can bring with you to kind of help regulate. That's a good
Our
thing to do.
youngest son uses his earbuds for that a lot. And I know that we get on him for using his earbuds when he doesn't respond to us and we need his attention, but he definitely does that in public spaces. He'll say, that helps me regulate, that helps me deal with those stressful situations. And there's definitely a balance there and an understanding that, okay, sometimes that you need that.
And even like when I'm at work, even though I work nighttime, there's still like a base level of volume in the big room that I work in. And it can be overwhelming when you're autistic and you're hearing everything. So I will put an earbud in one of my ears and just play like soft, calming instrumental music. And it kind of helps bring order to the sensory that I'm getting and helps my brain kind of stay organized.
Yeah. And it drowns out like the distant noise, like the
gives me something closer to focus on.
Gives you something closer to focus on. And it allows you that if somebody's close to you, talking to you directly, you can still hear them. So the stuff that applies to you, you're still in and checked in and paying attention to, but it helps you to separate everything else. And, there's ways to do that. One of the things it suggests here in our outline when I was doing the outline, it says, give yourself permission to rest unapologetically. Like sometimes you just need to rest and people around you should understand that timing wise, if you can, like just, I really need to rest right now.
And sometimes that's the hardest part, honestly.
Yeah.
Because even when you're resting, your brain is still going. And we've been programmed to think that resting is bad and, you're being lazy or whatever. Yeah. So it's difficult to even when you're trying to rest, your brain might be, making you feel guilty about it or might still be going 100 miles an hour on all these other things. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that sometimes getting that rest and being able to really rest is the hardest part.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Effectively. No, I definitely understand that. So those are just some things that, to watch for both for the neuroanchor and the autistic person. Warning signs. So we're next going to talk about what neuroanchors can do, support people, neuroanchors. These are just like some support strategies for parents, partners, coworkers, friends, anybody in your life that supports you. Don't push for normal right after the event. Like expect them to crash and take some time to recover. That's completely normal. And if you just set the expectation there, nobody's going to be disappointed or frustrated with it. That's just part of you almost like build it into the trip or the visit. It's like, okay, this is our recovery time. We're going to have this time afterwards to rest and recover and get back to what we need to do.
Because like we said, we've been borrowing spoons from the next day and the next day and the next day. So we can't go, okay, that's done. We'll go back to normal because we won't have the spoons
Don't have
for
the
that.
capacity for normal.
Yeah.
One of the other things is creating space for solitude and self-regulation. So allowing that nap, allowing that quiet time, allowing that time for a special interest, whatever the unwind looks like, just allowing for that space for that to happen.
Yep.
Using predictable routines to help recenter. Yeah, like what you expect from us to do, getting back to that is helpful for you. Offer co-regulation without pressure. So things like body doubling, calm presence, limited conversation, like sometimes just being there but not interacting is what you need.
And especially in these moments.
Yeah.
Like that can be comforting no matter what. But yeah, especially when I feel overwhelmed. Even if we're just sitting in the recliner watching TV and we're not talking to each other, we're just both there. That's relaxing.
Yeah.
And I wish I could understand the psychology of that because it's interesting. The body doubling, the parallel play idea of it, whatever.
Yeah.
It's interesting, but
it really is. And I don't understand it either, but I know it helps. So I just kind of play along.
Yep.
Communication strategies during these times, how to ask if support is needed without overwhelming. That's kind of a fine line, and that's also knowing your audience.
Yeah.
There's just been many times that I've asked you, even just today, like, is there anything I could do for you? Is there anything you need? And just trying to let you be, but also like making dinner at home and just like getting back to some of the routines. We went to the chiropractor today because that's something that helps you just feel better.
A good adjustment definitely feels good.
But it definitely helps you feel better, but it also is something that you're familiar with. So you're like, okay, this is a good thing, but also not in your face. Well, what do you need? How can I fix it?
Yeah.
But because sometimes you don't know.
And it can even be frustrating if you're, like you might feel frustrated, like, just tell me what you need me to do and I'll do it. Or, like sometimes it's maybe exaggerated, but you might feel like, oh, well, are you even trying to relax? Are you even trying to recover? And it's like, that can actually make it worse. It's like, just follow their lead and no pressure. And if you say, what can I do? And they say nothing, then sit there with them and do nothing.
Hey, I'm here. If you think of anything I can do for you, just let me know. But I'm just here to hang out for now. Also, just validating the decompression and the need for decompression. Like, hey, I know that you've been completely overwhelmed for the last few days. So if we need to take a few days to kind of get back to normal, I totally understand that. You had listed yourself for overtime on some of your days off after, and you're like, I just can't do that. And my response to that this morning was, that's totally fine. I know you need that time. Just take it. That's what you need. So just, validate those things. Don't feel pressure to. It's one of these things, and there's always the need to get back to normal and the need to, in the world we live in, like the need to make more money for like you working overtime. And it's something that my dad would always say, and I kind of use it with the kids, is in a moment where you say you need something, if it's different than what we had planned on, do what you need and we'll figure it out. It'll all work out somehow. That's the key phrase right there that I use on the kids and my dad used on us is, it'll all work out somehow. It always does, but do what you need to right now we'll figure it out. Yep.
I think that is very helpful it's helpful in making the autistic or neurodivergent be able to relax, is to know that you're validating their need for it. Because if they feel like they're trying to relax around people who don't think they need to relax, don't understand it, who might, if they feel like people are looking at them like they're lazy, then they're not going to be able to relax. So letting them, know that you understand, letting them feel validated in their need for recovery will help them actually be able to relax like they need.
Yeah. Well, and also that if their need to take some time off neglects some other things, that they're not going to be left to clean up that mess themselves. Like they have support in it. We'll figure it out together. Whatever needed to be done during that time that you need to take off, we'll do it together.
Yeah.
Like you're not in it alone. So I think that's important too. One of the things that we'd like to suggest is building a recovery toolkit. So some of the things here is like sensory friendly recovery rituals, things that you can do like bubble baths, maybe like keep some bubble bath on hand that you like, weighted blankets, favorite meals, and like just something that's familiar and comfortable. And
shows or movies that are comforting, definitely.
Today we played one of your favorite games, and we'll probably play another round of it tonight before I go to bed, because that's just
and I will probably either play more Minecraft or watch some movies tonight.
Yeah.
I'm gonna. I already told Bridget this is probably going to be a limited edited episode.
Yep.
Because number one, we're recording later than we usually do, and I'm still recovering. Yep. So I may just chop the beginning part and chop the end part and put it together, and you'll get another unedited episode maybe. But
it's just one of those things that's like authentically us. Yeah. Like that's part of the whole thing is like real autistic voices. We want you guys to understand like we're real people and we're just figuring this out. And
when I say edited, like most of my editing is cutting out long pauses or coughs or sometimes like something just crazy will happen with the dogs, or sometimes like that we've cut out. But most of that editing is and some of that, when I upload the audio to Podbean, it does a lot of that itself anyways. So
just like detail stuff that you care about, but
because we always wanted it to be authentic. We did not want it to come across as really super edited.
No.
Like we're trying to sanitize who we are, because I never edited anything to do that much.
Yeah.
That's
not who we are.
I've even sometimes used some of the outtakes that were before we really started recording or whatever as like the funny little intro.
Yeah. Because that's just how we are. We kind of embrace our little goofy moments and roll with it. So just some of those familiar things. Digital decompression, limiting screen time, safe stimming videos. So those kind of seem counterproductive.
Yeah, limiting screen time if that's a stressor. If that's, if screen time is a stim or relaxing or helps them decompress, then let them do that. But that's one thing that like a lot of people think that it's so important to limit screen time. And I don't, I think you don't want to let it get out of control to where it's taken away from necessities. But, like I imagine back in the day that, he reads books too much, like I feel like it's just
also the effects of like blue light and the stimulation of screens and the effect it has on rest. And if it's interfering with your ability to rest, then I can see that too. Because rest is important when you're recovering.
Right.
So that's another thing to consider there. But it's not necessarily always a negative thing. It just depends on how it's affecting you, I think.
Right. Yep.
So, evaluate your situation and respond to that accordingly. One of the things is reintroducing structure using checklists or visuals to get back to routines. So we talked about checklists and structure in previous episodes. It's a big thing for neurodivergent people. In a lot of cases, you do better with the structure and the routine. So reintroducing some of that without pressure in the beginning.
Yep.
Not this, we've got to get back to all the checklists and all the structure now.
But just like, here's a reminder of things that'll help you get back on track. Yeah.
Yep. So that's kind of what recovery looks like at our house. It's things that we've experienced in the past. It changes from time to time, but we'd love to hear from you guys what your recovery looks like, what things you do to come back from long periods of stress or dysregulation or like just being out of your normal routines or your normal space.
Like, do you have to plan, like, lately we plan vacations with, this is when the vacation is, and we still have like a buffer on either end too.
To
like,
prepare,
so, are you someone who has to do that too, or you have to find another way because, you may not have that luxury?
Yeah. Well, and what is something that you wish that people in general, like people in the public or people in your own personal life, understood about your need for these, regulation and recovery? Like, what are things that you wish people knew about that? Talk to us and see.
Yeah.
We'd love to hear different perspectives on it.
Leave us some comments.
Yeah.
So, you can send us some emails, questions, anything. Yeah.
Yep. So, yeah.
I know for a lot of people, just having someone to talk to, like we've gotten some comments where, the people just, they find people like them, and it's just comforting to be able to have someone to talk to or to just read that someone's similar or whatever.
Yeah.
And we've interacted with some people where, they're just glad to have other people to interact with that understand.
Well, and it comes from both perspectives. You get a lot of, like people saying that they're glad to have someone like them.
Mm-hmm.
And I've started doing a weekly spouse or partner post about neuroanchor post, about different things that I experience, things from my perspective. And the first week it was about communicating. No, it was about that the noise level doesn't always mean anger.
Oh, yeah.
That being loud doesn't always equal being angry or being upset.
It may just be overwhelmed.
Or it might be excitement. Or like loud is not always a negative thing, but paying attention to the message more. Mm-hmm. This week I talked a little bit about
our division of
division of household duties and how it might look different for neurodiverse and neurotypical household, and that's okay. So I'm putting those out every week, but just different topics. And I've been getting some feedback from people that are on my side of the coin, and I love to have those conversations and go back.
It's really satisfying to be able to see the interaction from both sides.
Yeah,
for sure, and to know that we're like providing someone who has a similar experience for people to relate to.
Yeah.
The people who are autistic, being able to relate to my experiences, and then the neuroanchors being able to relate to yours. It's really rewarding to kind of see those interactions.
And it's pretty clear to me that there are people just like us who haven't seen a lot of that support out there, and a lot of those other voices that they can relate to. And they're like, oh, this is somebody that has some of the same experiences I do, or at least they understand why my experience is different. And so those have been really good, and we enjoy having those back and forth conversations.
If you're interested with interacting with more people like that, and you haven't checked out our Facebook page, check it out. It's Apparently Autistic Podcast on Facebook. People can comment, and some people will comment back and forth to each other, or we'll reply to comments.
We've had people send private messages when they're not comfortable commenting on a public page, which is totally fine too. I totally get it. People have all kinds of different reasons.
Or even if you wanted to, like I've seen on other pages, if you wanted to ask a question from the other page, other people on the page, anonymously, you can send us a message, and then we can post just your question anonymously and say, hey, someone had this question.
Yeah.
And you can get feedback from other people without having to, put your name out there.
And we'll always respect your privacy, so don't worry about that. But the main point of today's episode is I just want people to understand that recovery isn't a weakness. It's really wisdom. It's smart. It's knowing your limits. It's knowing what you need and what basically that you don't. I'm going to read this because I'm going to word it wrong, but you don't owe the world your energy at the cost of your well-being.
Yeah.
And that's really the bottom line.
Yeah.
So you don't owe the world your energy at the cost of your well-being. Take care of yourself.
Well, and if you, like me sometimes, if you need to feel like you still have to justify everything, it's important to remember that recovery now makes you able to go back to those things that you're worried about doing sooner, and it makes you more effective and more, able to focus more. It makes you just overall a better version of you for yourself and for those around you.
Yeah.
And not understanding that importance and not taking that time to recover, it really is going to be worse in the long run than if you take that time.
Like,
so it's
taking
important
that week now to recover might put you back at doing what you were doing at 100% of your ability after that week. But if you don't take that time, you might be doing those things at 60% of your ability for the next 6 months because you just didn't take that time that you needed. So just definitely prioritize that and justify it however you need to in your mind, but take care of yourself because you don't owe somebody else your well-being.
Right.
So good. That's really what we had for today. I'm glad you all joined us. And if you want to comment, share your experiences with us, we'd be happy to hear it.
If you haven't subscribed, whether it's following us on whatever service you get your podcast from, be sure to do that. Facebook, or on YouTube as well. You can check out our videos if you like dogs and want to see some cute ones. Usually they're either sleeping or hamming it up next to us while we're recording. So
this one's sacked out right now. I've got Harvey next to me, and he's going to roll over now. He wants me to scratch his belly, and Mala's chewing on her bear. So whatever. We've got a little bit of everything. So
we really want to continue to grow this community. So we share it with anyone. I know most people at least know somebody who can benefit and relate. So share it with other people for sure. Yep.
We're happy to have you. And thanks for joining us. Thanks for being part of our community and part of our family.
Yep.
So, and we will be back next week with some more. Do we have a topic? Well, we have a topic for next week, but do you know what it is right now?
I don't know off the top of my head. No.
Okay. Well, we will be back next week with more. We'll try to post maybe midweek a teaser or something for it so you have an idea of what topic we're going to be talking about. And we'll be back then. All right.
We'll see you.
Thanks for joining us. Have a good week.
Bye. This podcast is for informational and educational purposes only and does not constitute medical advice. Please consult a qualified healthcare provider for diagnosis or treatment of autism or related condition.